Hello, this is my deck tech for my Tariel, the Reckoner of Souls commander deck. And this is a fun, interesting Orzhov kind of splash red commander deck based on the pre-constructed commander deck Heavenly Inferno. And I had the idea for an Orzhov themed life gainy, dirtily make everyone hate you by draining their life sort of deck. Um, but instead of building it from the ground up, I decided to buy a precon and modify it, and so I cut out a bunch of the red in favor of more white and black life gaining combo-perfect goodness. So I've separated it out into piles, and we can talk about each little individual libble pile. So these are lands. Aren't lands interesting? You kind of need those. Command Tower, duh. Rupture Spire. I could be playing Transguild Promenade as well, but I don't really like it. I may want to cut this card as well, just because the deck is primarily two colors with a little splash of red for a few things. Um, but it's clunky. It comes into play. You have to pay one. It's kind of annoying. But in Commander, it's okay to have lands like this. It's much more forgivable than in a format like Draft or Standard Constructed or what have you. So here are some lands that make red. Storage lands are nice to have. There is no black-white storage land, so getting access to this one is pretty sweet. And bounce lands. I might end up cutting bounce lands as well. They often can be more trouble than they're worth. I've heard various opinions on whether it's nice to have them or they're annoying. They're just not worth it. Anyway, I've got Orzhov Basilica and Sacred Foundry because I have them. I don't have a Blood Crypt. I'll put that in when I get one, if I get one, etc. But other than that, I've got the various types of duels there and a bunch of basics. About even on the plains versus the swamps, or at least the pseudo, like this is a sort of a plains because it primarily produces white. This only produces black. This only produces black, so they're basically swamps. But anyway, yeah, Barren Moor, cycling lands are nice. Bujuka Bog, another commander staple. Exile someone's graveyard. Not ideal with Tariel, but if you want to start reanimating stuff with Tariel, who, by the way, has this ability where you can reanimate a random creature from an opponent's graveyard. So don't Bojuka Bog a guy's graveyard if he's got a lot of sweet stuff and you've got Tariel out. But feel free to Bojuka Bog their graveyard if they're going to reanimate something or make a ridiculous Mimeoplasm or something like that. That's what you want to do with that card. And a smattering of red. Two mountains so that if I really wanted to, I could fetch them both with something like Armillary Sphere, in case one of them gets milled. I don't know, just don't want to get locked out of red somehow. And an Evolving Wilds. So haven't done a lot of fine tuning with the mana base, and it's not rared all to hell because I don't have those cards. So yeah. And then so it's 38 lands and 6 non-land mana sources, those being the appropriate signets, Armillary Sphere, Soul Ring, and Pristine Talisman, which was my addition to the precon deck, because it gains life. That's cool. This deck is about gaining life. And the way that it wins by gaining life is by assembling one of these combos. Sanguine Bond, whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. Exquisite Blood, whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. Lose life, gain life. Lose life, gain life. You and your opponent F6, and their life total ticks down from whatever it is to 0, while yours goes up. I've done it. It's amazing. It's very fun. You can also substitute Vizkopa Guildmage's activation for, let's see, each opponent loses, target opponent loses. So yes, you can substitute the Vizkopa Guildmage for the Sanguine Bond, and it actually works better because all your enemies will die, not just one at a time. So that's that combo. There's also the Mind Crank plus Bloodchief Ascension combo. Now, usually this combo is very cool. The way it works is if Bloodchief Ascension is active and they take damage, they'll put cards in their graveyard, which makes them take damage, which makes them put cards, and everyone dies as soon as anything goes to their graveyard or they take any damage at all. Sudden death overtime. This combo is nice, but not usually worth it individually. Like, Bloodchief Ascension is kind of nice on its own. For my deck, it's very nice because it's all about draining life, and that's sort of my cute little theme about it. But Mindcrank on its own is usually pretty terrible. All it does is like arbitrary kind of milling, which is just as likely to help as hinder and doesn't really affect the board in any meaningful way. But Kaching, Tariel, I always have a reason for Mindcrank to matter because he can reanimate guys in the graveyard. There are also other smatterings of cards in this deck, such as this guy, who care about stuff in the yard. So Mindcrank, not always going to be good. I can always use it with Tariel, and it's always just kind of fun. I love on Magic Online forcing people to chunk huge swaths of their library into their graveyard just for no reason. It just makes the game feel more pointlessly devastating and destructive and needlessly wasteful, like real warfare. So yeah, Mind Crank will be fun. Um, so you'll notice that these are all enchantments. All three of these things are enchantments, and you can, in fact, if you could somehow find two enchantments in a row, you could just assemble this win con plus some other thing, some other way to gain life. That's an enchantment form. Ding, ding, ding. And how would you do that? Well, Enduring Ideal. Enduring, the epic spells are really dangerous in EDH because you can't cast any other spells. There's not much we can do while we've Enduring Ideal because we don't have a lot of stuff like cycling or man lands or interesting things to do that isn't spellcasting. I guess we could like activate Vizkopa Guildmage, we can activate other creatures' abilities, we can do stuff, but mostly we're just stuck finding enchantments, which usually means go for the win by getting Sanguine Bond, Exquisite Blood, and any way to gain or lose life, like make your opponents hurt or make you gain life. And once you have this combo in play, no one can gain or lose life without you winning, so your opponents will probably be freaking out, and that's fun. Enduring Ideal sets it up, and then I just figured I'd add a smattering of other enchantments that are nice as sort of an enchantment package to make that a little bit of a theme. Faith Fetters, just a staple. It gains life, again, as thematically appropriate, and it neutralizes anything, which is wonderful. Sphere of Safety I'm going to try out. I'd also maybe like to have the white propaganda. Not that sounded wrong. Not Birth of a Nation or anything like that. The Cage of Hands, or not Cage of Hands, whatever it is. Ghostly Prison, not White Power. Um, but instead I'm trying Sphere of Safety because it can theoretically be a lot better than Ghostly Prison if Enduring Ideal is going, where I've assembled a Fortress of Solitude. Because sometimes I can figure like, oh no, Sanguine Blood, Exquisite Bond, Sanguine Exquisite Blood Bond, one of these two has gotten exiled or destroyed, or the win con is no longer there. Well, that's okay. Enduring Ideals can still grab me Faith's Fetters to neutralize something, grab me various other enchantments that do various other stuff. Theoretically, I could tick down with Subversion if I had the game under lockdown or something, and Sphere of Safety will make it so that no one can attack me. I lost a game from 70 life, getting hit down from 70 to -4 in one shot by a ridiculous, gross Avenger of Zendikar play. So, having a thing like Sphere of Safety to just be like, no, you cannot swarm me with tokens to destroy my life total will be helpful. So all this talk about life totals. The whole point of this deck is to be ridiculously life gainy and somehow win with it. And I like gaining life. I like that I don't have to do the math myself because Moto does it for me, which is helpful when you're like doubling and redoubling and getting a bajillion and a half triggers from stuff on the stack, causing you to gain life. So we can talk about all the life gain cards. There's Boon Reflection, doubles your life total. That's pretty sick. There's Rock's Faithmender over here. He also doubles your life. Not doubles your life total. Yeah, you know what I mean. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life. If you would gain life, you gain twice that much life. Um, Other ways to gain life include Righteous Cause, another enchantment. This will probably gain you a crap load of life, especially against the aforementioned like token swarm strategies. And it attacks anyone. That doesn't have to be just attacking you, and people are going to be attacking each other in the game. And often, life gain guy doesn't seem like a threat, or yeah, it doesn't seem as much of a threat. And even if you are perceived as a threat, this helps mitigate the drawback because attacking you will cause you to gain life. So it's kind of like negating 1 point of damage per attacking creature. Polluted Bonds, this card is a house. This does so much work if you can get it out on early, like on turn 5 or even on turn 4 if you can power it out with a Mana Accelerator because, my god, like people ramp like crazy in this format. Any deck that's playing green is going to give you a crap ton of life with this card, and even like any deck at all in EDH, in Commander, you're going to have lots and lots and lots of lands. Like you're going to probably get to 10 mana, and if you play this card on turn 5, that's a life drain, a 10 point life drain for them playing lands 6 through 10 for each player in the game, and there are 3 other players most of the time. So yeah, Polluted Bonds is great. It will not make you any friends, but I've noticed that people sometimes just ignore it because they're busy like, okay, whatever, I'll play my lands. And I've had people like play cards like Crozen Verge or whatever, like cards that put multiple lands into play. They're playing their ramp spells anyway, even though it's draining them for 2 life or 4 life or whatever. And they're doing it because they think like, oh, I need lands, but sometimes you don't. Like I've had a guy who was like, you have 19 or whatever lands already, so why are you scooping 2 more out of your deck just to drain yourself? Anyway, Polluted Bonds is great. Um, Archangel's Light, I haven't had success with this yet because I haven't had an enormous graveyard, but it's a kind of situational card. We'll see. It looks really fun. Gaining a huge amount of life and restocking your yard will let you outlast people. Same goes for Invincible Hymn. This is just another strictly like get a ridiculous life total card. So if you can cast this, assuming you haven't been ridiculously badly milled, you will set your life to something like 60 or 70, and that'll be pretty good. Um, Also remember that anything that like Invincible Hymn or our next contester, Reverse to the Sands, contestant, these guys cause players to gain life. Like setting your life total to a number, if your life total was less than that originally, you're gaining life. If it was more, you're losing life. So you can use cards like Reverse the Sands and Invincible Hymn to gain life. Now, if you say Invincible Hymn yourself going from 40 life to 70 life, but you happen to have a Rock's Faithbender out, you'll actually go from 40 life to 100 life because you gain twice as much life as you should have. It's telling you to set your life total at a certain number, causing you to gain life, causing you to double that gain. So, yeah, it can be sick. And Reverse the Sands, I've never cast this card and ever touched my own life total because it's usually like I'm casting it while at 50 or 60 life and just messing with other people's life totals. I have screwed over the player who was in the lead other than me. Like I had a huge life total but not much board presence. He was playing Talran, Sky Summoner, and had an army of Drakes, and I cast this card, swapped his life total with a guy who was at 2 life, extorted trigger, extorted him down to 1, cast another spell, extorted him again, extorted him out of the game by reversing the sands onto him. So I, instead of killing the guy who didn't deserve to die, I killed the guy who did. That's what Magic is all about, killing those who stand before you and passing judgment upon them. This card is fun, it's wacky, it's cool. Theoretically, if everyone gangs up on you and beats you down, you could use it to gain life yourself. That may or may not happen. Celestial Force, life-gaining powerhouse. It's a 7/7 for 8. Good enough for me. Stormherd, sweet win condition. Make 40 or 50 Pegasi, and that ought to be good enough. Plague of Vermin, same deal. Um, I played a casual deck that wasn't singleton, non-commander deck that featured this card and Boon Reflection and that one pay X mana, get X life, double it if you pay both white and green mana card from Shadowmoor, stuff like that, and I hit the token limit. I made so many tokens that Moto couldn't make anymore, and it just said you get none. You have 250 already, you don't need any more. So yeah, this will be a fun win condition, just making a bajillion rats, and then everyone else like your enemies will be like, okay, he's making 40 rats. How many rats do I have to make to stay alive? Because you have to pay life to make rats, and so on and so forth. Cradle of Vitality. This would be pretty sick with something like Invincible Hymn or Reverse the Sands or where is it at? This old favorite, Beacon of Immortality. Yep, this will make our creatures enormous, and that's cool. Cryptghast is one of the extort guys. The other ones of whom should be, yeah, I guess he can go over here with these people, but I'll talk about him now. Extort. Extort is good. That's what this deck wants to do. I liked Extort from the Orzhov, Guild Gatecrash pre-release and stuff. I wanted to explore it for a commander deck. I'll talk about him later. I mean, obviously, yes, doubling your swamp mana is great. He's not ideal because he doesn't double everything. This deck is technically 3 color, so it only has like X number of real swamps in it. But it's been pretty good for me most of the time. Like it extorts and usually gives you 3 or 4 extra mana when you play him. Okay, so he's just a dork though. He's just like a 2/2. This is about more strictly life-gaining based cards. Falconwrath Noble is also just a 2/2 dork, but he flies, and that's nice. But his life gain thing is really powerful. Creatures dying, draining everybody, targeting players is nice because it means it's not as good as the stuff that drains everybody and gives you that much life because that means everyone else is losing 1 and you're gaining 3. This only lets you lose 1 targeted and gain 1 yourself, but it means you can avoid making enemies, and it also lets you pinpoint kill people. So he'll be pretty good. I didn't play the 0/1 Blood Artist version because he doesn't do enough. A 0/1 is just a chump blocker. It dies to literally every sweeper in the format. Um, Even Tremor. Like this guy at least doesn't die to the 1 damage sweepers. So, and he flies. He can hold. Like he can poke in for 2 points. Faithbender, yeah, I talked about him. Doubling life totals is gross. Doubling life gain, I mean. Sangromancer, this should be pretty sick. I haven't really cast it yet, but Creatures dying happens all the time. Discard, not terribly likely, but probable. Gaining life, and just being a 3/3 flyer for 3, a phantom monster, that's good enough. Well of Lost Dreams, this card's sick, especially in combination with big mana such as Soul Ring or Cryptghast or whatever. Um, Being able to turn all of your extort triggers into card draw, being able to turn all of your life gain things into card draw, being able to have something like Subversion in play where you can tick gain life every turn and then just pay to draw cards willy-nilly is gross. And the more cards you draw, the more life you can gain. You can keep hitting land drops, keep making lots of mana, go nuts. Chalice of Life is the like draft reject card that I'm showcasing in this deck because it's very easy to get to 50 life, 10 points higher than your starting life total, and then once you transform it, it 5-point life chunks per tap is pretty good reach. Like you want not reach the ability, reach is then the ability to put away games. Yeah, doing just I've had people like targeting this with artifact kill spells instead of something like Well of Lost Dreams, and I was like, dude, you're crazy. But they apparently perceived this 5-point, tap for lava axe every turn as such a threat that they needed to get rid of it. So another life gainy artifact thing that is a big threat is this guy, Tainted Sigil, which is going to be bananas with stuff like Reverse the Sands. If I'm redistributing life totals, that causes players to lose life. If I'm at 80 life and my enemies are all at 20 life, and I redistribute my 80 life onto their life totals, and then crack Tainted Sigil, I'll gain back all the life I lost, and all the life they lost by me restructuring their life totals, and so on and so forth. And also in EDH, people make big plays, huge alpha strikes, and deal tons of damage in a single turn, and I can gain a crap ton of life off of this card. Beacon of Immortality, straight doubles. Check out my dubs. Double your life total, shuffle it back in, do it over and over again. This, much like some of these other cards, don't do anything but gain me life, but that's what I set out to do, so they do it well. Kokusho, sick, banned as a general because he's too good as that, and even when he's not a general, he may be too good for EDH because, holy crap, 15-point life drain. Like, that's amazing. He's a good card when he's in play, and he's a fantastic card when he dies. Pain's Reward is pretty cool. It's a surprisingly painless way to draw 4 cards if you have twice or 3 times the life total of any of your opponents. You start the bidding with a bid of any number, and they may top the high bid. If you just straight up bid more life than they have, they can't ever match it. And this deck can easily afford to pay 20 or 30 life sometimes to just draw cards and then win. Because what is really the difference between being at 80 life or being at 50 life? Either way, you're pretty safe out of the reach of stuff that you wouldn't see coming. Like, the reason I lost to the whole Avenger of Zendikar thing was because I didn't have a sweeper. I just, he played the Avenger, he made a crud load of tokens, he was playing War at the Raid Mother and Conspired, Parallel Evolution, he just had, he hit the token limit as well, and then played lands and made all of his plant tokens bigger, and then attacked me for an enormous amount of damage. So yeah, suffice it to say that I will usually be able to win the bidding on Pain's Reward, and that turns it into pay 3, draw 4, which is cool. Urborg Siphon Mage, this guy's a kind of pet card of mine because I love Siphon Soul and so on and so forth, but it's not good enough as a standalone, just like single Siphon Soul spell. And I didn't want to play Exsanguinate because everyone hates that card, and it would be fantastic in this deck, but I don't need it. I'd rather just extort people slowly than just kill everyone all in one fell swoop with some lame uh, Exsanguinate for a bunch. And this guy can do it slowly. And he's a creature, so he's kind of a removal magnet as well. Like, people don't like having this guy sitting there letting you, A, be a discard outlet for any sort of discard-based goodness we have, which there isn't much of it in this deck, but anyway, he's nice. Draining people for life. This is a +6 life for you, -2 to everyone else, and all you have to do is discard a card, which could be, a land or a guy you want to reanimate or whatever. Subversion, this is another way you can win off of Enduring Ideal. Get this one out. It's basically like an extort for 1 every turn for free, and 5 mana is kind of steep for that effect, but again, each opponent losing 1 is going to speed them along to death, and you gaining 3 every turn is not insignificant because of your 3 opponents. And needless to say, it gets really gross when you have stuff like the doubling cards, the Boon Reflection or Rock's Faith Mender, where you're draining them for 1, but you're gaining 6 a turn. And then that's even more sick with Extort, which is the stuff over here I'll get to. So now we're done with these are all the life things that do basically only life gain and win conditions relying on life gain. These are the Dirtle creatures, the random, like, good creatures that an EDH deck wants to be full of so that they can compete. Shattered Angel actually should be over here with the life gain because this is sick. Anytime a land, just like the Polluted Bonds, only almost better. I mean, it gains me more life. Polluted Bonds is nice because it hurts them, but this one gains 3 life a pop instead of 2, and it's a 3/3 flyer, which is nice to have. So yeah, guys are going to be playing lands all the time. So now we're here with the less, the basically good guys, the good stuff creatures. Vampire Nighthawk, he's cool. Flying, Death Touch, Lifelink is nice, of course. Like a lot of these guys you'll see overlap with whole life gaining stuff, but primarily they're just there to be dudes, and this guy's a good dude to have. He wards people off. Lightning Greaves is sort of a corollary to all the random dudes. It's just nice to have. It might get cut. There are only 19 creatures in the deck, but it's good with Tariel. It's good with almost every other creature. Shroud, Haste, everyone knows how good Greaves are and how annoying they are to play against. Johnny's Pridemate, this guy should get really big pretty quickly. You got stuff like Subversion and extort triggers and various stuff. Even Chalice of Life gives you a way to gain life every turn, so he'll just keep growing and growing starting on turn 2 if you get him out on turn 2. Angelic Arbiter was in the precon, and it's pretty cool. I'd like to try it out. It's just a big dumb angel with a disruptive ability, but why not? Sepulchral Primordial and his friends Sepulchral Primordials. These guys are sick. These are all the, like, they pushed EDH really hard with these guys because their abilities are playable, like good in one-on-one duels, but phenomenal in 3 with 3 opponents in a 4-player game. So yeah, getting their guys back from the graveyard is similar to what Tariel does. Hence, they're thematically similar and both benefit from stuff like Mind Crank. So this guy should be good. He'll usually be getting back 3 high-quality creatures. Angel of Despair, another goodie. Just hard cast it, blow something up, have it as a win con. Oros the Avenger, touching the red. He could also be your general if you felt like it. And so could the what's-her-face, the flying person who puts an angel, demon, or dragon into play. I cut her from the deck because I'm not going for that sort of tribal stuff, and she is an enormous, like, kill me immediately sign. If you have her as your general, Kalia of the Vast, everyone will be terrified that you're going to drop a Dread Cacodemon or some ridiculous dragon into play on turn 4 or 5 or 6 or something like that. So, not bothering with her. But Oros is nice because he can sweep. Generally, I don't want to be activating him because I'll be blowing up my own guys like Urborg Siphon Mage or the Crypt Ghast or other stuff. But it's okay. He's a dragon. Those are good. Treasury Thrall, Extort, helping with the life gain. Extort is great for this deck. And recurring stuff, that's fun. Bassandra, another remnant of the precon deck that isn't thematically appropriate and doesn't really do much, like, specific, but it's just nice because it disrupts stuff and lets me have a use for my red mana, because I'm often having red mana that I can't use for extort triggers, and none of my other stuff cares about it, so Bassandra can do work. Mother of Runes, great. Just an early drop, poke in for damage, protect your guys. I don't need to elaborate on how good this card is because Legacy tournament decks can show you that better than I can. Thrall Parasite, I have yet to use him or abuse him with counters, removing counters from permanents, but a 1-mana creature that has Extort is great, because then you can just Extort for the rest of the game, so nice to have. Cryptghast, again, the mana ramp is pretty cool, although this deck isn't optimized for it. It's not mono black, it's not even black with this other color, it's 3 colors, so you'll only usually have like 2 or 3 swamps at any given time you can expect with this guy, but it's still, that is giving you a decent amount of extra mana, and it's an Extort card, because Extort is a win con. Lightning Greaves. Okay, so this is the mass removal, not mass removal, tricksy kind of interaction with creatures and stuff pile. In this pile we have Master Warcraft, something I'd like to try out. It too is from the Heavenly Inferno precon, and it seems like it could be pretty good if I did it at some point to kill off my opponents. You know, have some guy attack some other guy, choose that the other guy being attacked doesn't block with anything. That guy dies. The guy who did the attacking, all his creatures are tapped. I can now attack him. He's dead as well. Seems like a cool, interesting, fun card with a pretty unique effect. Return to Dust, Commander staple, exile 2 artifacts and enchantments, or do 1 at instant speed. Gotta have something like this just in your deck somewhere, because otherwise you'll have no way to deal with cards like mine, like these things. This combo can be easily blown out by artifact and by not artifact, but enchantment removal. So it would be foolish for me not to run some as well. Path to Exile, Soul Snare should be a Swords to Plowshares in here, but I thought I had one and I don't. I don't know. Maybe I traded them when I was desperately poor for crack money or something. Soul Snare is from the Commander precon, and it's pretty nice too. It only can hit stuff that's attacking you or one of your planeswalkers, but it's still a nice go away, leave me alone button. Righteous Fury is the only strictly like Wrath-esque card that I'm playing. Master Warcraft is sort of a pseudo Wrath, and Earthquake is another possible Wrath. But this is also not a hard Wrath in that it always will wipe out all creatures. I don't want to fill my deck with those because other players have sweepers. There's usually some guy at the table who will be the sweeper deck who has like Damnations and Wrath of Gods and Supreme Verdicts and so on and so forth. Um, this one gains me life again. Like I just did a like Gatherer search for life gain. This is a cool card. It can selectively blow up stuff. If a guy has a whole lot of tokens, it'll gain me a crap ton of life, and they'll all be tapped because they're being used to attack. It's sometimes bad, I guess, if no one's attacking and the board is a huge stalemate. Sometimes that's when you want to wrath the board, but to me, if there are no tapped creatures on the battlefield, then everything's going fine because no one's getting hurt, and I'm just going to be gaining life and gaining life and gaining life and eventually winning with some combo or something. Um, Mortify, heck yes. If I owned a Vindicate, that could be a good thing too. Mortify's pretty good though. It's an instant, deals with stuff. Reckless Spite, nice, powerful instant speed, double kill, and 5 life is trifling for this deck, for most commander decks in fact, because you start with 40 life. But especially for me, because I'll gain that life back in a moment. There's sort of a weird balance in this deck between cards that drain your life, that you pay life for, and cards that give you life because by gaining life, you can use these and not fear. So Reckless Fight is nice. Blow up 2 non-black creatures. Earthquake is a pretty good sweeper. It'll probably kill everything on the ground and hit players a bunch, and I won't care because I have a bunch of life. So the damage, I can safely Earthquake for 20 or whatever and not worry about it. And Earthquake guy's out of the game. And Choice of Damnations is a cool card that's kind of like a sweeper. It works great against guys who ramp their mana, who have put a bunch of lands into play or put a bunch of tokens into play because it counts permanence. Um, it's unique, it's weird, you have to choose numbers. One of the only other cards I can think of that works sort of like this is Goblin Game, which makes you choose hide any number of objects. Hide any number of objects is a phrase that appears on a Magic card and a thing that players could have to do at a Pro Tour. Hiding objects. Enough about that card, though. It really should be in here because it works pretty well, but I digress. Let me bring it up so you guys know what I'm talking about. Goblin Game is in my real-life EDH deck, which is Intet colored rug, and I love it because it's so stupid. Oh, come on. You've got to have Goblin Game in their database. Show all cards. Please. You're telling me Goblin Game doesn't exist on Moto? Whatever, I'm probably... Oh, I have this wrong. Derp. Yeah, let's see that Goblin Game. Yep, each player hides at least one item. I thought they'd like reword it for Magic Online, where it's probably just like type in a number or like press a little scroll thing for a number. But yeah, if I need to buy this card and put it in this deck because it actually works pretty well. What it does is have players' life totals. So and bidding life. I love bidding life in this deck. I just like wacky things like that. So Goblin Game, Choice of Damnations. Choice of Damnations, you can lose all your permanents or lose a bunch of life. I like being the evil mafia boss who makes you choose between bad and worse, just like Toshiro Mizawa said. Finally, we have the card draw / tutoring power of the deck, which is Promise of Power, draw 5 cards, lose 5 life, and if I have 9 mana lying around, make a big old demon. Usually I'm just going to be necroing for 5 with this card. Diabolic Tutor. If I had Demonic Tutor, I'd put it in. I don't own that. Beseech the Queen. Pretty sweet tutor. You generally won't need to cast it on turn 3 with triple black. There's not much you can get for only 3 or 4 lands in this deck you'd really want, but if you get it late, like it's just going to get you almost anything you could want. The deck's mana curve tops out pretty high, but whatever. And Moonlight Bargain. This is a really cool card. I don't see it used a lot. Paying lots of life again for this deck is not hard. It's an instant. I usually use it to hit land drops. I like, hit my fifth land drop, don't have any more, or miss my sixth land drop on the draw, and then think, well, crud, better cast Moonlight Bargain, and then I do. And then I can get all the lands I want and no more because I don't have to put them in my hand. I can pay 2 life to grab what I need and chuck what I don't need into my graveyard, which can be useful for stuff. And that's the deck. This cost me $30 to buy the precon deck, and then I spent about $15 on other rares, and that was just money, like tickets I had lying around I'd accumulated from winning various events and stuff. So I'm pretty happy about this. It's not exactly a budget commander deck. It costs, like, you can build commander decks for like 10 tickets or less, but it seems fun and powerful and competitive. So I'm going to show some games of it sooner or later, and those will be cool. Thank you, and good night. And always remember that after death you face paradise, damnation, or that guy from Diablo 2 with the big glowing energy wings that are tentacles.